The House of Representative Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream set to investigate a huge investment into the turnaround maintenance of the nation's major refineries and why the exercise has not yielded the desired result, leading to plan to sell them. The committee also announced that it was investigating the bottlenecks associated with obtaining crude by local and modular refineries and why local refiners should travel to Switzerland to negotiate obtaining crude locally. Speaking at a news conference on Wednesday, Chairman of the committee, Ikenga Ugochinyere, said it is disturbing that after the hype that greeted the return of the Port Harcourt and Warri refineries to production status, they had to shut down again. According to him, the House intends to find out what went wrong, especially when considered against the backdrop that the company handling the turnaround maintenance is a reputable company, adding that before considering whether or not the refinery should be sold or privatized, the House would find out what went wrong.
The committee also was worried about the outcome of the turnaround maintenance of the refinery, considering the amount of money that was spent, and then after the jubilation and celebration by Nigerians, including their president, who weren't happy to now hear again that there was need to shut down few weeks after operation, and also confused when we now heard about sale being also considered. So the committee agreed this morning to look into the state of the refinery to find out what happened, because public fund was paid. It's a company, but the assets of the company still belongs to the Nigerian people. And they are asking us questions, and the committee have received series of petitions which they have decided to handle to find out the state of the refinery, the turnaround maintenance. The company involved was a company that was said to have reputable international history. Is it that they failed in the project, or is it there something that we don't know? So as a representative of the people, the committee resolved to look into the state of the refineries and find out what happened before we even talk about selling it, because we must find out what happened, because all of us celebrated when it started work, and there are people who were responsible for oversighting it from the company as at that moment, and they assured us that everything was going on very well. So we need to know what happened and why is it not running and why is sale on the table. These are the issues, including also what is the sustainable way of having it. Do we need it? Do we need to be privatized? Is there a need for partnership and so on and so forth? This is what the framework the subcommittee will draw up, and then we'll take a decision and then we'll present before Parliament.
He said the House committee has received several petitions on issues affecting the petroleum sector, adding that the committee will find a permanent solution to the issue, especially when it has to do with providing stock for modular or other local refineries. He added that the House has also received several petitions from refinery owners, oil marketers and retailers on the bottleneck they are having, adding that they have complained about their huge investment, which is likely to be affected by certain policies, especially the allegation of Dangote refinery planned takeover of petroleum product transportation and retailing.
Yes, those concerns that have been raised by importers of petroleum products on sustainability of their business, and those concerns that have been raised by refinery owners that we cannot invest billions and then you are importing finished product which will run us out of business, which is also a very legitimate concern. And that of the retailers and also the transporters. The committee dealt extensively this morning on them and said there must be a win-win. But the greatest win will be national interest. How do we ensure energy stability? How do we ensure attraction of foreign investment? Because you cannot be looking for investors, which is increasing today in downstream. Multiple investment is coming both in gas infrastructure, both in petroleum refinery, both in petrochemical plant. And then if those investors feel that the market is not secured or guaranteed for them, they will not put those investment. And then we're going to go back to what we used to have before. But at the same time, we have people working with these marketers. We have our people who have jobs there. We have our infrastructure that have built. How do we draw a synergy to put everybody in a sustainable value chain that will see a win-win? There will be no job loss. The refineries will continue to operate and have their market, and then the marketers will be able to transit to a system to understand that the country cannot continue to import. The country cannot continue to import. There must be a sustainable solutions to these concerns, but nobody is going to take it all or have it all, and that is why the committee is drawing the first legal framework, the legislative framework and suggestion which will be presented to the larger house to find a sustainable solution to this crisis so that key stakeholders in the downstream sector can have return on their investment and the nation will be the big winner.
He said the stakeholders have complained that their investment in the country will be impacted negatively if the policy is allowed to subsist, adding that oil retailers have also complained about the likely takeover of their businesses, which has led to tension across the country. Ugo Chinyere said the committee will reopen investigation into the acquisition of OVH and the complaint from NNPC retail staff, adding that the House had rejected a report of an earlier investigation into the matter and ordered the committee to reopen the matter. The House, he said, will look at ways of amending the Petroleum Industry Act to address emerging issues not covered by the law, saying the committee intend to put together all such areas of amendment for the approval of the House with a view to strengthen NMDPRA and downstream petroleum sector. It disclosed that the committee resolved to dismiss the petition asking for the dissolution of the NMDPRA because the PIA conferred the appointment powers on the president. They said the House committee will also investigate issue of the incorporation of artisanal miners into the petroleum refining value chain, following complaint that the experience, not such persons, will be eroded if they are excluded. Another investigation by the committee, he said, is the alleged abandonment of the biomass ethane project, as well as allegation and counter-allegation over the continued importation of fuel and protection of local refineries legislative solutions. He assured that the House will not allow any monopoly in the oil sector of the country, assuring that all the subcommittees set up will fast-track the investigation of pending referrals to the committee, addressing crucial matters and developments that have arisen, which strengthen sustainability in the downstream sector with a view to making the downstream sector stronger and more viable.
Also, the committee also decided to dismiss the petition calling for dissolution of the NNDPRA and the regulatory body. And this is born out of the fact that we are framers of the PIA. We made those provisions. We created Section 14 sub C that talks about tenure of job. It is at the mercy of the president at the end of tenure. If he does not want to reappoint anybody, the president exercises that right and power not to reappoint the person. But we cannot go to what we used to have during the DPR era, where there was, leadership instability, policy inconsistency. Before pre-PIA, the investment you have today in the downstream sector, both the upstream and the downstream sector, which is in the neighborhood of over $20 billion now. You never had it. Sure, there was nobody that was coming to invest when there used to be DPR and so on. So it was a trading market then. But today, you can see the gas infrastructure. People have taken gas distribution license, they are building infrastructure. Modular refineries almost about 8 or 9 now running. Petrochemical plants are now running. Big refineries are now running. More petrol-related infrastructures is springing left, right, and center because the market is very clear. The policy is very clear. The process is very transparent. That is one of the key things the last administration and the present administration has also sustained to keep that clarity in the petroleum industry. So going by that, we cannot go after 20 years or thereabout of fighting to make the PIA, then we'll now return it back to whereby if there's any change of regime, somebody comes and says, sack everybody. When you start sacking people left, right, and center, policy starts to change. But if anybody is found wanting or haven't committed any offense, we are not defending the person. The relevant security agencies should be able to handle that particular issue. So it's on that ground that the committee dismissed the petition calling for the removal of the NNDPRA boss, Omar Farouk, and Komala for the UPRC, saying that we must stick to tenure as provided by the PIA, and if anybody has offended the law, that should be dealt separately with the relevant security agencies. But stability of tenure and stability of policy and stability of process in the petroleum sector must be guided jealously so that we don't go back to the era of the pre-PIA.
Baba Sunday, Eagles FM News.